Most people want the finish line without the race. They want the glory without the blood. They look at a man like Elon Musk, and they see the rocket landings. They see the satellites. They see the first trillionaire in human history. But they are blind to the foundation. They are blind to the years spent in the dark. To understand the man who would reach for Mars, you have to understand the boy who was forged in the heat of South Africa. Born in 1971 in Pretoria, Elon grew up in a world of stark contrasts. While he lived in relative affluence, his reality was anything but peaceful. He was a bookish, quiet child in a rough environment, a target for bullies who recognized his difference as a weakness. He didn't just experience playground teasing, he experienced violence that would have broken most men. He was hunted down, kicked in the head, and left bloodied on concrete stairs. Injuries so severe they required corrective surgeries that haunted him for decades. But the violence of his childhood did not breed cowardice. It bred a cold, internal resolve. While his peers were socializing, he was reading. He devoured the Foundation series and The Lord of the Rings, building a mental architecture of empires, technology, and the survival of the species. By age 12, he had already sold his first piece of software, Blastar, for $500. The pattern was set. When the world attacked, he retreated into his mind, and when he emerged with a weapon, his intellect. He left South Africa in 1989, a departure that wasn't just a relocation. It was an escape from a dying apartheid regime and a life that felt too small for his ambitions. Canada, then Pennsylvania, then the fever dream of 1995 California. He didn't have an office, he didn't have funding. He had a web company called Zip2, a couch he slept on, and a local YMCA where he showered. He was coding 7 days a week, often literally wrapping his computer in plastic to trick investors into thinking it was powered by a supercomputer. He was bluffing his way into the future. But the early days were not a steady rise. He was pushed out of his own company. He was ousted from the leadership of X.com, which would later become PayPal. Every time he tasted success, the board or the investors found a way to strip his control. He learned the hardest lesson of business. If you want to change the world, you cannot just own the idea. You must control the architecture of its survival. When he took his exit money from PayPal, he didn't go to the beach. He went to the graveyard of industries. He looked at aerospace, where the technology had been stagnant for decades, and he decided to build his own rockets. The experts laughed at him. The Russians mocked him. When the first Falcon 1 rocket exploded, it wasn't a tragedy, it was a data point. When the second exploded, it was a test of resolve. By the time the third one failed in 2008, he was truly on the edge. Tesla was burning cash. SpaceX was failing. The global economy was collapsing. He had liquidated his fortune, borrowed from friends, and stared into the absolute void of bankruptcy. This is the moment most billionaires choose comfort. This is where they retreat to their assets and settle for a legacy of almost. Elon didn't. He split his last remaining capital between two dying companies, a gamble so reckless it defied all logic. He played to save the mission, not himself. That gamble paid off in a way no one could have predicted. It forced a level of efficiency that became the hallmark of his success. He moved his bed onto the Tesla factory floor. He lived through production hell, identifying every bottleneck, every wasted motion, every flawed part, and forcing his team to innovate at the speed of thought. He treated the factory not as a manufacturing plant, but as a weapon. He didn't just build cars, he built a software-defined revolution, and with SpaceX, he moved from test flights to a constellation of satellites that now provides the internet to the entire planet, a mega-constellation of over 9,000 satellites, with Starlink becoming a global utility. Today, in 2026, he stands alone at the summit, With the SpaceX IPO in June 2026, his net worth surged past the $1 trillion mark. He is the first person in human history to reach this milestone, a feat made possible by a market that has finally recognized the value of his AI-driven data centers and his dominance in the stars. Yet, the story doesn't end with the stock price. He founded xAI to compete with the very giants he helped create, driven by the belief that the current path of artificial intelligence is an existential threat to humanity. He has become the architect of a new era, navigating the complexities of space colonization, neural interfaces with Neuralink, and the disruption of urban transit with the Boring Company. But the achievement is not the point. The achievement is merely the scoreboard. The true story of Elon Musk is the story of the grind. It is the story of a man who looked at the impossible and asked, "What are the physics?" It is the story of a child who learned that pain is inevitable, but progress is optional. He has shown us that if you are willing to strip away the noise of the world, if you are willing to work when others sleep, if you are willing to fail until failure becomes a science rather than a shame, you can bend reality to your will. You are currently in the middle of your own story. You are facing your own bullies, your own rejections, your own failed rocket launches. The question is not whether you will face adversity. The question is whether you have the discipline to use that adversity as fuel. Elon Musk is not a god. He is a man who decided that his mission was more important than his comfort. He is a man who decided that the rules were meant to be rewritten. Now, ask yourself, what is your mission? Stop waiting for the world to change. Start building. Strive or stay stagnant. This is StriveLogic.